Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and join. Ring that bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a video. Let's get started.
Years ago I took a job to be night shift manager. The company owners had came in another establishment that I was working at. That time, they asked if I would think about taking the management position. Wish I had taken it, and not listened to. One will leave nameless. So that position was taken. The manager that they had there did not know how to do simple end-of-the-week paperwork. They wanted me to teach them. I asked if they had not trained them. I had worked the night shift, then I turned around and I had to open the next morning. I was doing the deposit and payroll. I had 5 other employees opening stations. As I was preparing the cash registers, they started screaming. I jumped up and said, "What?" They looked shocked. Finally one said, "I made the tea and put the lid on it, it flew off." She had asked one of the shift leaders to watch, so naturally they were all watching. One of the shift leaders said, "She put the lid on and it flew off." I said, "Give it to me." I put it on, turned around and it flew off. The crew wanted to leave. I told them, "We have a job to do. Finish everything else." I spoke to nothing in the air, said, "Whatever this is here, it needed to leave, now. Because we had a job to do and have to open the doors in 10 minutes. So go away." As I turned to walk away, the to-go containers starting flying out of the slots. So I picked them up and said, "I don't have time for games. Leave. Now in Jesus' name." The crew did their job and left as soon as possible. They told the manager as soon as they gotten back. They asked me, if they telling the truth. I said, yes. Then they let me know they had experienced the same thing. I never gave it room to grow. By that, I mean, did not go around talking to it. I figured it came from a worker that was good friends of the manager. They dressed gothic and wore some devil jewelry. It wasn't long after that happened I was closing the store and only had one other worker with me. She was out front closing down, I was in the refrigerator freezer doing inventory. I was inside the freezer part and the light went out, both the walk-ins. So I felt my way to the door and it would not open. I kept trying but it would not. By now I'm thinking she must be holding the door. So I said, "Fine, I can just take nap." I sat down and the light came on and the door opened. I went out front and she was way up front mopping. I asked, "Did you do that?" She said, "No, I haven't been back there." I was not in the will of God as I should have been, but I knew to tell it in the name of Jesus. The name alone makes demons tremble and flee. The old house that I talk about was also haunted in many ways. Every night Dad or Mom would lock the front door. Every morning it was unlocked. One night Dad and I stayed up watching a vampire movie. All at once it sounded like every dish was broken. Dad said, "Go see what that was." I said, "No, you go." So he did. He came back, looked like he'd seen a ghost. Mom had woke up. She asked, "What was that?" He said, "Nothing." I said, "But I heard it, there's nothing out of place." I went to bed and to sleep before anything else happened. This is the house Mom's friend brought a Ouija board to our house. She tried to get Mom to play. She told her no, because it was a form of witchcraft. But yet they talked me in on playing. I can't even remember what we asked or said. When he came back off of one of his many months to be missing. Wanted to know who brought that into the house. Mom said her friend did. He went to burn it but decided to just throw it away. One night we were playing hide and seek with Dad in the house. We all hid, none of us ever went to the back bedroom. For good reasons. After about 5 minutes he tell kids, "Come out now, the game is over." He was standing in the kitchen to see where everyone of were hiding. We went to the front room. Again he looked white as if he'd seen a ghost. Mom asked what's wrong. He said he went in the back bedroom, he seen two red eyes, and heard a growl. He knew it was not human. Our lights were always going off and on. I started going to church with Grandma. I would walk over next door to her home and ride with her. I have a lot of stories about this, how the Lord saved me. One night I came home early from church. Well, for our church it was early, 9:30 p.m. I walked in and no one was there. Many of the times if Dad was home he would take the family riding on the dirt roads. There was no telling when they would come home. My grandma had went to eat. Her daughters were jealous of me being with her all the time. They would have a little dinner after church. It was there in the banquet room. They charged to eat. Grandma would keep me sometimes, but they would make smart remarks about how I was a moocher. Many times I would go in the stairwell, so no one could see me. They kids would go down the stairs playing, I would just duck my head. In shame of not having no money or no clothes to wear. Sorry, I won't get lost again. I went in and sat on the couch. I heard some noise in the back bedroom. It sounded like someone or something was there. The front door opened. No one was there. I called my grandma. Cass told her I was alone. Could she please come to the house? She said yes, she and Lana would. That was our half-aunt. She was 4 years older than Jonna and 5 years older than me. I sat back on the couch. All at once, all the electric went off. I jumped and ran out the back door. I don't think my feet ever touched the ground. Lol. Grandma only made it to the end of the first block. There were 7 blocks to her apartment. She said, I can't believe you're here. We walked back. By that time the family was home. I told them what happened. Still Dad said I should have checked the breaker. It was off. Yeah, it was on the outside of the house too. A couple weeks went by and it was some holiday. There were family over Grandma's house. Our cousin said they had a game to play. Only 5 people could play at a time. Well, I knew I wouldn't be one of them. So I watched in amazement. They laid one flat on the ground and the other 4 go around her, one at her head, one at the feet, one on one side and the other on the other side. Then said something like, light as a feather so many times. They just used their fingertips, and lifted them up in the air. Wow. How did they do that? I was next. After I got up there I was screaming, let me down. They laughed. Finally they did. Our Uncle Dale, which was only 5 or 6 years older than Jonna, was watching. He asked what we were doing. They did it to him. He was screaming, let me down. You can't move on your own until they let you down. He went and told Dad. He had them do it to him. He said he had never been so scared in his life. He made us go home. He told them that was witchcraft. Told their parents also. They said they thought it was a game. Everyone was forbidden to do that again. More recently, Stephen and I moved into a house that was the only house on the road. It was on the edge of town. They had the country club and golf course. It shut down after about 2 years. In our backyard was the biggest locate graveyard. It was pretty nice, big. 3 bedrooms. The rooms were big, but it was a old brick home. Steve knew the owners. He had told them he was looking for a house, because the one we were in was a shotgun home. Very small. We had lawnmower stolen. They broke in while we were gone, trashed the place and found our money that Steve hid. Someone had to come right in our garage and stole our talking Amazon parrot, Pete. I was ready to move, but I walked in and felt very uncomfortable. As we walked to the back bedroom across from the master bedroom, I felt a evil spirit presence. After we left, I told Steve about it, and it's a male. And our 2 others there, a woman and a child. Still was ready to move. We were broken in one time there. I was home alone. The person banged on the door. I just thought they would go away. Next I had the side of the house cracking. I looked out the window. A guy was trying to cut a hole in the window. He looked up, seen me and said, sorry ma'am. Took off. The unmarked agents came, talked to me. They never caught him. We would hear people talking. Someone opened and closed doors. We heard a lady humming. What made look for another home was when we were asked to host the New Year's Eve party. I sing but only DJ Steve too. We didn't get home until 3 am. We said I'm tired. Steve said someone called. The light was flashing. So he listened to it and said, Tina, come here. Listen. This is not a phone call. Our phone had a place for us to record a special message for someone. We did not do this. It was a chilling voice. It said, Hey Tina, we didn't think you were mind very much if we'd take him on a journey with us. Well, neither one of us knew what to say. Also, we had started to record that night to see if someone was playing a joke on us. Or worse, someone was sleeping in the attic. So after that, went to bed, and said we'll check everything in the morning. But I was curious, so I pulled my headphones to my laptop. And started listening. As soon as we walked out the front door, you can hear us talking, and then you can hear us driving away. All at once I heard a child screaming out, Mommy. I was in shock. I rewinded and listened again. I waited for Steve to hear it. He said, What is that? Neither one of us want to go to sleep. But was so tired. I fell right to sleep. The next day, we listened to more. It sounded like a man in boots, walking around. Then a woman humming. Steve experienced more than I did. Well, until the last few weeks there something came in the bathroom. I was on the toilet, and the only one home. I could feel it all around me. I prayed, Jesus help me. Finally it went away. My son-in-law is a preacher. I told them what we were experiencing in the house. He went through the home, then he and I and my daughter walked outside. He said there are 3, 2 left, but one said, no. He said he's out there in those fields. We did send the recording to a group that works in the field. They told us to leave the house and those voices are not human. Since we moved, it feels like all that bad heavy feeling has left. Nightly prayers keep them away. We found out that the last 3 families that lived there moved in a month or 2. It was too haunted. Steve worked on floors of a person that went over there because his girlfriend couldn't get any rest, plus too much going on. He told Steve after the first night, I swore I would never go back. He told Steve we were crazy for living there. The worst thing was Steven was working as a security office for the Chickasaw Nation in Kingston, which was about 15 miles away from our home, maybe 20, and I was alone all night, well, for the first year. Then he got on the second shift. And got home by midnight. Our dogs would not go in the house. The little shotgun house had a spirit walking around. I seen him and told Steve what he looked like. Thin, tall white man. Wore a old snap-up Cowboys shirt. Mostly I seen him in the laundry room. It was by the back door. It was a sliding door. I had called the lady in Oklahoma City about why he would be there. Little did we know he lived there and had a heart attack. On the back porch. It was the day they were going to come do some kind of hunt, but I called it off, knowing I don't believe in ghosts. That afternoon a middle-aged lady knocked on the door. I had the door open. She asked if she could walk around the place. Her dad lived there. I just seen the night before. I asked her, did her dad wear a snap-up old cowboy shirt? And boots? Was he tall and thin, and a white man? She looked to be part Indian. She started to cry. Have you seen him? Said, last night. That was the day he passed. She walked around, was happy and satisfied. I told Steve no need to let someone come in. I believe the spirit had reason for being there. We had our first home in 1996. We were buying the original home of Durant. The name the town is named after. It 3BRS2 full bathroom '(s) old, needed a lot of work. But we fixed it up beautiful. It was on a dead-end road. We had 2 acres of land, pecan trees, big shells and small, the peach tree and apple tree and berries. My oldest sister, Jonna, found out she had stage 4 cancer. Started in her lungs. They gave her 6 months, she lived 4. Our mother took care of her. They only lived 5 blocks from our house. I will tell her story soon. After she passed away, About 4 months had passed. It was very cold outside. We had an old wall furnace. I told Steve I could smell gas. There was snow on the ground. I had the wall heater on, and lit 2 of burners on the stove. It wasn't long I had a pounding headache. The girls were there. I told them I needed to lay down. I laid on the couch. They said they had a headache too. They went to lie down. After about an hour passed and I woke up to a ice-cold house. I checked the stove. It too had no pilot lights. It made no sense. I called Steve and told him what happened. He said for me to call the gas company. I told them our gas was off. They said they would be there shortly. Soon I heard a knock at the door. It was gas company. The guy said I need to check your pilot lights. He did and said, it was great that I turned off the main and pilot lights. He said if it would have blown up and would have taken out 4 blocks all around. I told him I didn't do that. He said, well, someone or something did. Can Elle say, Engels unaware. After we sold this home, we used the money to pay down on a 2-story home. It had 1.5 acres of land, plus, it was a 4-bedroom, 2 bathrooms. Had a formal dining room and formal living room. I loved it, so did the girls. It was supposed to have a 3-bedroom house next to it. It brought in $700 a month from renters. But the owner kept taking the money. We only lived there about 8 months. Steve had a job near Austin, Texas, so he and his crew stayed down there for a week to work and finish the job. It left me and the girls. I bought my full-blooded German Shepherd police dog in at night. She laid beside my bed, except when we were going to sleep. She would follow the girls to their room. Every morning they would scream, "Get off the bed, lady." The 3rd night the girls had their cousin spend a night. I had office in our bedroom. This house was humongous. It took a while going and checking the locks on every door and window. That the girls were in my room playing games on my computer. Lady was laying beside me next to the door. All at once she started with a low growl, then jumped up, pushed open the door, and started like she was fighting something. Nothing was there, that I could see. I had only seen her do that once before when a dog tried to attack me. She moved back and forth, keeping something away from me and the girls. At the top of the stairs she wouldn't let it by the hair on her head. Body was just standing straight up. She showed all teeth and then all sudden straight down she ran, and she ran around and around the house trying to catch whatever it was. Finally I kept calling her and she come to the top of the stairs, stopped and barked a couple of times and then laid right beside the stairs in front so no one could get by. I believe it was something that wasn't, or shouldn't have been there. The lady that we were buying the house from said she was a white witch, which I did not know until after we signed the papers. I probably wouldn't have bought the home because of that reason. After we started moving in, the girls were looking at the 4 bedrooms to see which one they wanted. We save one for a guest or our son when he comes in to visit. The girls started screaming, "Run down the stairs," and I asked what was wrong. They said, "There's a Ouija board in that bedroom." I had Steve go get it and put it out in this big garage that they had, and it was a humongous garage to work in besides the carport. I told the lady she could come by and pick it up because I didn't want it in the house. She said, "Oh, I'm a white witch, I'm good." I said, "Yeah, I don't believe in witches. I do believe in the spirits like that, but I do not practice." It was the week Steve came home. I was standing in the kitchen by the bar drinking coffee. At a glance I saw a lady with long white hair, in a long white gown. Did not see no feet, just looked ghostly. It went in the closet in the formal living room. It was a humongous closet. I went and checked in out, nothing was there, but a cold chill. It was about 2 days later my brother Stacy came by. He was talking all at once. He got a funny look on his face. Steve asked, "Is something wrong?" He said, "I got to go." Steve walked out with him. Steve came back and said, "Stacy said, he seen a white ghostly lady." I stopped him and finished what she looked like and where she went. He said, "You know?" "Yes, I believe it is a spirit conjured up by our landlord. She used that board." I told him I didn't want to live there anymore. So we sold it back. Of course we only got half back. Which she didn't have to do that. We were going to buy this next home but the lady did not want to sell. I did like it. 3 bedrooms, large open formal dining room and living room. If you haven't noticed by now, I am somewhat sensitive to the spirit world. That's good and bad. I can walk into a house or any place, and will write off. I try not to do it. I might have saved us some money if I would have prayed about the house and then went to look. It wouldn't have mattered. Steve would say it's alright. Lol. I'm between this time. Steve had a new home. He was doing the floor covering. The first 2 days he worked by himself. The second day he told me something funny happened. I was so hot, it was middle of summer. I went and got cooled off under a air vent. I thought they already had the air done. I went back to work. That evening the electrician came by and said, I'm going to hook you up, the air and heating. I said I thought it was already on. He said, no, I haven't looked it up. The next day we went with him, our son and I. It got to be getting late. The sun was going down. He had just finished the living room. There was a window between the living room and kitchen. Steve still had a small bathroom, and then he would be done. He and Lee were back there. I was sitting against the wall waiting for his heating iron to cool off. As I looked up, I seen a long salt and pepper hair Indian man. He was wearing a checkered logging shirt, black and red. I said, oh, you scared me. I didn't realize someone else was here. He never said a word, just stood there with his head bowed down. I felt something wasn't right, so I got the iron and stared around the wall by the window. He wasn't there. I went ahead and went through the hall down where Stephen was. I told him what I seen. He said it's probably a worker. I said, this late? You're right. Steve got up and looked around and didn't see anybody. I don't see him. I said, a man was there. There's something strange about it. So he continued to work. All of a sudden I was sitting facing the hall down there by the kitchen and I seen the man go by, into the garage. I said, there he goes. In the garage. All at once the breaker flipped. Steve told Lee, go check that breaker, it just was flipped. Lee said, no dad, not me. Steve said, go. I can't get up, this iron is hot, check the breaker. He said, it's off, flip it back son. It came back on. Steve didn't want me to leave him alone. He finished the job. The next day we went and met with the owners. They loved the floor covering. We started to leave and I said, Steve, do you think I need to tell them what I seen? He got a funny look on his face. The couple said, what? I told them exactly what I seen. I started in. The lady said, please, don't tell me, you seen a tall Indian man with long salt and pepper hair? I said, yes. She said, I just didn't believe it would happen. What? She said, that's my dad. He died a while back and we have moved 3 times trying to leave him. He just keeps hanging out wherever we go. I have had dreams, visions. I don't know what to call them, because I'm awake when it happened. More like a flash. I think it started at a young age. I always loved my great uncle Charles. I would cry to stay with him. One cold night I wanted to go. He did live far from us. He and his live-in girlfriend had walked over. I wanted to go. He told Dad if I wanted to come home, he would bring me. Well, the girlfriend stuck me on the couch and lights out. I told him I want to go home. It was snowing already up to the middle of the leg, but he took me. Charles drank a lot and came down with cirrhosis of the liver. He had Dad bring me to his side. I was so sad. The next day after the funeral, Granny Pear gave Dad $2.50. Old. Charles wore them on his belt. He told Granny to give them to me. Dad said, I will just keep them, and put them in his top bedroom cabinet. I told him I wanted to hold them, he wouldn't let me, that someone put them under me. I woke up and saw them. I knew Dad was going to be mad. I gave them to him, he gave me a spanking. He said, I must have climbed up there. Mom said, she couldn't climb up there. This time he put in a locked cabinet. Next morning it was under me. He and Mom agreed to give it back to Granny. I never seen it again. Then one day when I walked into work, I seen the cook sitting with a worry look. I had a flash. I said, "Gracie, you're looking for your daughter?" She said, "How did you?" I said, "I'll tell you later. Your daughter has overdosed and she is at her friend. Boyfriend." She said, "How do you know?" I said, "You need to go now." Hour later she called and said, she was at the hospital with her daughter that odd. I see a lot of things. I try not to. I told my husband years before 9/11 happened, that I had flash. I said their tall buildings came crashing down. Something hit them, like a bomb. But it wasn't a bomb, I said, airplanes. I said it hit the Pentagon also and somewhere in town hit. He said, "I promise you that will never happen." But it did. I had two cousins that had a horrible car wreck 2 blocks from my apartment. My husband and I were sitting watching TV. All at once I had a deep burden and a sense of dread. It was so heavy. I told my husband, "I have got to pray. I moaned in the spirit so heavy it hurt my chest." I stayed there seemed like for an hour. I got up, went back and sit. Again, it wouldn't go away. This time I knew who it was for. My two cousins. They were brothers, and lived across the street from me. Well, the oldest brother did. The younger one was driving. They were intoxicated. It was late afternoon, about 3 o'clock. As I got up the second time, there was big bang. I ran to the living room. I said their names. And fell on my knees. My husband said, "Stay here." He ran out. I just started to call their mom. About that time, my husband came back. I could tell by the look on his face it was them. I started to go. He said, "No, it's real bad." His wife was with his mom. They had notified her. My husband gave him the phone number. The youngest brother was all banged up, cut up, but not as bad as the oldest. He was sung through the windshield. It cut his neck, his jawline from ear to ear. They thought they had lost him. They had to resculpture his whole face. I went to the hospital and sat there about 2 hours. It was just the immediate family, so I didn't think I needed to be there. I had prayed and done what I need to do, intercessory prayer. Still, their mom asked where was I when they were at the hospital. Little did she know, and still don't know. My husband can verify what I seen and said. I have so many, I will tell you some more later. Anything you might need better information about, or if I sounded confusing to you, just let me know. I get to typing before I think, or thinking before I type.